All right, West Virginia fans, it is here. It is the start of the 2025 football season. To preview that today, I have a very special guest, my good friend and longtime sports reporter Amit Batra. Amit, what's going on?
John, how you doing, man? I'm feeling pumped.
Well, it feels like yesterday when I had you first on, we did the Big 12 media recap, and it's been a wild preseason football camp. They've been adding players. Players have been leaving. Players are eligible. Then they're not eligible. Then they're eligible again. It's been a wild preseason camp.
Yeah. I mean, big news this week, right? And it's exciting to have four players who, West Virginia fans sometimes are not accustomed to having good news. So we are very excited. I am ready to roll and bring on Robert Morris.
Yeah, absolutely. I know week 0 is tomorrow. And I said today, my fix to week 0 would have been all the Power 4 schools should play their FCS team out of the way week 0. So it's almost like a preseason, but it counts. And then the next week, week 1, you go full go. But week 0 starts tomorrow, so I'm excited for that. But let's talk about these West Virginia Mountaineers. Amit, would you say it's fair to say that this is the most unpredictable West Virginia football season to predict coming in?
Yeah, I mean, you have over 70 new players. I think it's 74 is the number that I saw, which is insane, right? Like brand new team, so it's hard to predict. I know we like kind of want to measure what success looks like this year, but I mean, and that's probably, I mean, you can ask so many people, and other people have, everyone's going to have a different response, but for me, I mean, success. I think, I mean, if you can get to a bowl game this year, right, I think that's going to be pretty big for this season. And then disappointment will probably be like, 3, 4 wins, right? Like kind of what we've been experiencing, it seems like, So I think, it's a brand new team, but yeah, to get to a bowl, I think would be huge.
Yeah, I think you have to finish with a winning record. So last year they made it to a bowl, but they lost that last bowl game, so they were 6-7. If you look at our record the last 3 out of 4 years, we finished with a losing record, which in my opinion is unacceptable as a West Virginia fan to finish with a losing record. I know Vegas, only has us at 5 wins over under. I think we need to shoot higher. I think we need to at least get to that 7 number.
Yeah.
It's an improvement upon last year, and that would be huge for at least 7 wins. I would sign up for that right now. What a disappointing season would look like for me is if we fell below that mark and we didn't see the changes that we brought Rich Rod in to do. Right when we had Neil Brown, a lot of drop passes, a lot of untimely penalties, and there was a lot of times when we played someone better than us, we were getting blown out in the first half of those games. So I want to see us level up, and I want to see us beat a few teams that we might be underdogs against too, and just to have a glimmer of hope that this is going to get back on track. What did you say about that, Amit?
Absolutely. And I think one thing that, we can't question is the toughness, right? I mean, that level of physicality is going to be there for Rich Rod. And that makes me super excited because, I mean, one thing, we can't question is they're going to have a work ethic with them. So, I mean, we'll see what the number looks like as far as wins. But, I mean, I think we need something to look forward to. Absolutely.
Let's talk about this before we get into the schedule. How important do you think this football season is? Because I mentioned this a little bit on my last show. Where would you gauge the importance of this season, year 1 with Rich Rod?
I mean, I think you have to set the tone, especially the way, how it's been, right? Like, I think there are winnable games on the schedule for sure, too. I mean, you end the season, there's some tough ones, Arizona State, Texas Tech kind of end the year. But then, I mean, if you can very well start 3-0, right? If you beat Robert Morris, you get, a win at Ohio, and then you beat Pitt, which, I mean, that Pitt game, I mean, I don't think we can overemphasize the level of importance of that game, right? Especially with all the storylines, it could be game day, right? People are saying that that's potentially game day for that week. So if you start 3-0, I mean, the excitement level is going to build for sure.
Yeah, I think, just for the important level of it though, we need to start off fast, and I think we as a fan base need something to look forward to going into the next year, because with conference realignment and having a seat at the table, this is a very bad time to not have a relevant football team. It's scary. They had Ren Baker on Three Guys Before the Game the other day, and he's talking about, there's going to be a shift eventually, and we're not sure when that's coming, and we need to position ourselves to be a relevant football team and a relevant brand. I think as a brand we are there, but we need to start winning football games immediately to get in that conversation, because we don't want to be playing musical chairs and not have a seat at the table.
Yeah, remember when we were in the Big East days? It felt like 9 wins was kind of like the standard, right? Like when we were there. And I mean, I want to get back to that for sure. Like, there has to be a level of a standard.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the most interesting thing with this coaching staff, with Rich Rod coming in is, he did that in the Big East. So now, no offense to those teams, they were amazing teams, and I think they would have competed in the Big 12 fine, but this is a new conference, and the floor of our conference isn't the floor it was at that conference. And I think there's some really good brands, and I think we're starting a little bit behind the eight ball. But let's get into the schedule like we talked about. It's called Circle on the Calendar. So I want us to go back and forth, and we have a red marker. And I want us to pick out 6 games, and we're going to go back and forth. I'll give you the first pick, and we're not going to forget Pitt this time. And I want to circle like 6 games or 6 games on the calendar that we think are the most exciting and that you're most looking forward to. Amit, take it away with the first one.
I mean, Pitt for sure. I mean, that's obviously going to be number one, I think. I mean, Ohio could be a tricky one, but I think West Virginia pulls away, in the second half there. And then Pitt, there's going to be a lot of storylines associated with that game, right? With Rich Rod, the way things ended. I mean, that 13-9, right? There's going to be hype for that one. And if you win that one, people are going to be talking and people are going to get excited, especially, if you're 3-0, right? So I'm going to go with Pitt for the first one.
All right, so we have Pitt first. I'm going to go with Colorado. It's actually a game I plan on getting down to. Deion Sanders coming to Morgantown should be fun. Prayers up to Deion Sanders. I know he had a health scare. And anytime you see an athlete that you grew up watching have a health scare, it kind of hits home. Same thing with like Randy Moss, hearing that unfortunate news, but I'm glad that he's okay. But back to the football aspect of it. Super excited to see what his team has to offer. I know they're losing their 2 big playmakers, but they bring in Caden Salter. They've recruited relatively decent. I think Colorado is the fascinating story in the Big 12 this year of how they're going to rebound and what they look like. So the second game that I'm going to circle is Colorado.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to go BYU on the road. I think that Friday night game, Provo is not an easy environment. If you can get a win there, you could be looking maybe, 4-2, 5-1 possibly, right? So I think that game could be potentially pretty big for us.
Yeah, they just announced that they're starting a true freshman quarterback this year. He's going to wear number 47, which is going to take some time to get used to see a number 47 starting quarterback for a team. That feels like I'm going to be watching a game from like the 1940s. But that game's going to be at like 10:30 at night. So make sure you get your coffee before that one. Maybe take a nap before that game because you're going to be up late for that one. I'm actually, for the next one that I'm circling on the calendar for our fourth game, is going to be at Kansas. The reason I say that is because it's the first Big 12 game. It's also going to be lingering after the Pitt game. So whether you win or you lose after the Pitt game, you can't get too high, you can't get too low, right? You need to rebound and you need to take care of business against Kansas. Kansas is an interesting team. If you look at the season last year, they lost a lot of close games early, but at the end of the season, they were knocking off some really quality teams. Lance Leipold, I talked about this in my week 0 preview. I think he needs to have a little bit more pressure on him. They've had a losing record the last 3 out of 4 years. I know expectations are lower at Kansas, but they just had a big donation in football. They have a brand new stadium there, and former Mountaineer Trey Lathan's playing for them. So at Kansas, Big 12 opener. I have it circled on my calendar. Amit, give us game number 5.
Yeah, I'm going to go Arizona State on the road, second to last game of the year. I mean, this is one of the Big 12 favorites for sure, and you probably are playing the best quarterback in the league in Sam Levitt. So Arizona State is going to be a major, major challenge for us. Hopefully we're up for it, but that's going to be huge to kind of end the year.
Yeah, Arizona State, they're either going to step up and show that they're a force to reckon with for a while, or they're losing Cam Scadaboo, who now is now's a Giant. And by the way, the Giants look pretty good right now, Amit.
That was a great pick, man. I love that pick. And yeah, I mean, preseason champs right now. Let's go.
Giants look good. But back to the football. So yeah, Arizona State, they have a talented receiver with Jordan Tyson. They have a very talented roster, but last year they kind of snuck up on people. This year the bullseye is going to be a little bit more on their back. That's going to be a tricky one because it's on the road. So there's a few ways I can do the last game here. I could easily go Texas Tech because of all the NIL money. It's a make or break year for Joey Maguire, right? I think they said they have more 4 stars on the roster than the entire Big 12. I think I saw that stat the other day. So they're loaded this year, but if they have a disappointing season, who knows what they're going to look like by the end of the season? If they lose a few games early, are they going to have the same juice if they're disappointed? Or we could play spoiler at the end of the season at home. That could be fun. But I'm not choosing them. I'm actually going to choose the Utah Utes. All right, and here's why. Utah's fan base is extremely confident, and I'll say that I'll just keep it there. They felt like last year they were going to be awarded the Big 12 championship as they walked in, and that did not happen for them. I get it. They have Devin Dampier, who's a talented quarterback coming over from New Mexico, who rushed for over 1,000 yards last year. But he also threw for 12 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. I understand their offensive line is loaded, but that game is being played in Morgantown, which is going to be a very difficult trip for them. So, especially if our season gets off to on the right foot, that's an underrated game on our schedule for sure. So I'm going to circle that one as the last one. Any other ones, since we have some time? Any other ones that we haven't mentioned yet that you think should be mentioned?
I would probably say, I mean, at Houston could be interesting. And then I mean Ohio. I mean, some people say maybe a little tricky, kind of start the year, but I mean you gotta win that, right, for sure. Other than that, I think we covered pretty much the ones I would circle. Yeah.
So next Thursday, week 1, right next to you, is going to be Rutgers, Ohio.
Yeah.
Ohio is actually coming to Rutgers, so I am going to be paying attention to that game for sure to see what Ohio brings in. I definitely have that circled in my calendar. Last thing on Houston, it's a shame that Dana Holgorsen is not still there. I guess it's not that big of a shame. I mean, it comes around, goes around. But the Big 12 really missed an opportunity a few years ago. I have no idea why they didn't put Houston in Morgantown. That would have made that game so much more exciting. We all know what happened with that game, so we're not going to spend that much time on that. But that's the schedule. I think it's very doable. You don't play Kansas State, you don't play Iowa State, you don't play Baylor, so that definitely helps a little bit too. It's a week-to-week league though, so you might see someone like Utah and think, "Oh my God, they're going to be the favorite," but then you saw what happened last year, and that could be a really tough game. Or Arizona State was picked to be last year, and then they were the champs. So you can look at the schedule, but you truly don't know until we kick this thing off.
I feel like each year the conference is so unpredictable, right? Like you can't predict it. And I mean, I think this is one of those years again.
Yeah, and we're going to do, at the end of the show, we're going to do like a predictions of who we think is going to come out of each conference. The Big 12 is by far the hardest one. I think the other ones are pretty easy, in my opinion, to pick as far as favorites. It's really, really hard in the Big 12, and we'll talk about that later in the show. Let's move on. Let's talk about the actual players on the field. So let's start off this first one with offensive playmakers that you're excited to watch.
Yeah, so obviously I think you got to start with Jaheim White, right? I mean, he's going to be the guy at running back for sure. And people, I think, 1,000 yards for sure, absolutely, that he's going to exceed this year. And then, I mean, there's a quarterback, right? There's going to be one of two guys potentially, and we're still figuring that out. But whoever wins that job, or if they both play, obviously that's going to be huge for us. And then you have some skill positions. I think, Cam Vaughn is one of those guys at receiver that people are super excited to see, as well as Rodney Gallagher, right, this year, as far as maybe a breakout year. But yeah, I would say those guys for sure.
Yeah, I have a few circled. Obviously, you mentioned Jaheim White. We're going to talk about him because we're going to do some predictions with him because I think he's that talented. And then now with Ty Edwards being eligible, I love that. I watch that guy's highlight tape all the time. Number one, because that's a sick 21 Savage song that I like. So it matches well. And just the way he runs, he's really, really aggressive. And he put up really good numbers last year at Northern Iowa. So I'm excited to watch him. The receiver room, I definitely think there's a bunch. Cam Vaughn, caught almost 50 balls last year his freshman season. Jaden Bray is someone they rave about. I think Rodney Gallagher takes a step. Oren Singleton. There's a bunch of guys in that room, and we're going to talk about them a little bit later. Let's talk about defensive standouts that you're excited to watch now, Amit.
Well, obviously, I think the big one is Jamari Robinson, right? With getting that news that he's going to be eligible, have that guy off the edge is going to be big. And then you have guys like, Chase Wilson, Fred Perry, Braden Sider, who's going to be a big time player as well. So I think there are a lot of guys, and there's going to be a lot of question marks too, because I mean they're all pretty new for us. So.
Yeah, I did a show a few weeks ago after I got back from Disney because I didn't have a chance to react to anything. And Rich Rod even said like there's a lot of questions still, and we might not figure these out until we play some games out the season. So it's almost like an open competition still going into the season. If you might start, but if you don't perform, there's a warm spot on the bench for you with this many guys. And Rich Rodriguez has said that he wants to play 80 players in games. So he's not kidding around when he says that. Yeah, some of the same guys you mentioned, Jamori Robinson. It seems like he's going to be able to play. I know Redden Baker had a press conference earlier today, and they want to make sure that the university's okay before he plays, but I think he should be good to go based on that injunction. But I'm not a lawyer, so it's been a very confusing offseason for us. But if he's eligible to play, obviously he's going to be at the top of the list. Michael Coach Jr. coming over from Nevada is someone I think that has NFL potential. Chase Wilson, I think, is someone that Mountaineer fans are going to love with how he plays. Fred Perry, probably the most physical defensive back we're going to have since Carl Joseph. And then Jordan Scruggs, another guy from South Alabama that has been climbing the ladder in college football. So we're going to talk about these guys coming up in another segment. Let's talk about sleeper picks, all right? So it could be offense or defense. Who's the one sleeper that you think isn't being talked about much but might have a big season?
I think Darren Lewis in the secondary. I mean, he has experience, and I think he's not a guy that maybe people are talking about a lot, but he has he has good experience for us, and I think he could be a guy that emerges as a sleeper.
Yeah, so for mine, it's going to be offensively. There's going to be two, so it's going to be Ryan Ward, who's actually a New Jersey guy. He's a tight end. He originally went to North Carolina and transferred to us. He had an offer from Alabama coming out of high school, so it shows he's legit. Didn't play much at North Carolina. He's been making some noise at camp. They've shown some highlights of him catching the ball. So as a tight end number 2 option behind Grayson Barnes, I think he might get some play and be the tight end of the future for that room. And then Bowie, another guy who continues to get better at slot receiver that came over from Jackson State, Martinsburg high school product. I think you have to keep an eye on him as a sleeper as well. All right, so let's get into some of the other things. I had a lot of fun with this one. First of all, let's talk about the list let's talk about the list on the right and the question down, and then we'll talk about the other things. So, Amit, I've made a list of the top 9 quarterbacks since we've been following the team: Gino, Will, Skylar, Garrett, Trickett, Daggy, JT, Kendall, Millard. First off, do you agree with the list? And if you had to change anything, would you move anyone?
I agree with this list. I mean, I think it's like Gino and Will Greer are definitely 1 and 2, and then you can maybe the rest are up for debate. But I mean, people forget Skylar Howard had a 10-win season, and he was a tough guy, man. And I think there's similar traits with like Nico, right? When you talk about him, maybe you can be like a Skylar Howard, right? You just hope that he limits the mistakes if there are any, and then I mean he's capable of winning in the air and on the ground as well. So I mean I agree with this list, yeah.
Yeah, it was tough because like if you look at stats, like Daggy actually like should have been higher, but I think the biggest stat they judge you on is winning and clutchness, and Daggy just wasn't. There was a lot of his turnovers were just not like they were in terrible parts of the game, and he didn't really win any big meaningful games. Trickett and Green was a hard one, but yeah. I think with Garrett's legs, you had to move him up. But I think Trickett's ceiling was higher than Garrett. I mean, Trickett threw for like 500 yards versus Maryland one time, yeah. So that it's tough. My question is, if Nico hits his ceiling, like, how high can he get to this list? Like, I think it's no question he can get to at least 4. The question is, can he pass like a Skylar Howard if he had a good season or a good 2 seasons?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think obviously 1 and 2 are going to be extremely tough to get to, but after that, yeah, I would say so. I mean, especially if he's winning, right? I mean, everyone's going to judge you on can you lead us to wins, right? And that's what Skylar he was able to do. So. If he becomes one of those guys that can lead us to the promised land a little bit, then absolutely.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what Nico can do in this offense. Rich Rodriguez has had a lot of success. I mean, look at Sam Huff last year at Jack State. He did really good things with him. So it should be interesting to see if Nico is the starter. Now, Nico hasn't been named the starter, and that's my question to you. Do you think this is going to be something where we see multiple quarterbacks play, or do you think it's just Nico's job?
No, I think it's very possible to see multiple guys play, especially obviously, week one, you would hope you see multiple guys play if, and you can run away from our Morris pretty easily. But I think it's an interesting question because you don't want it to become a situation. Remember when we were there, like Paul Millard, Ford Childress, Clint Trickett, it was a kind of like a carousel a little bit of quarterbacks. But
Everyone thought Ford Childress, like he had one good game against an
yeah,
FCS team. I think it was like Georgia State, and everyone's like Ford Childress. And then we played Maryland the next week, and I don't think we ever saw him again.
yeah. But that situation is probably not ideal when you have like three guys and you're trying to figure it out. But I think both of these guys are capable of winning the job, and if they both play, and then hey, they can help us win, I don't see the problem.
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't mind seeing honestly both. I mean, I know Max Brown's there and other guys, but I truly think it's a two-man competition. And
Yeah.
I think Jalen Henderson brings a different element to his game too. And you can't ignore his highlight tape. So some people believe if you have two quarterbacks, you don't have any. I don't believe in that. I think it could work with both. And I think especially early, you can play both, and then we can make our own decision as fans of who we like better.
Yeah, man. If you get a guy from A&M, right, who's capable of getting the job, I think absolutely he's capable of winning the job. And I mean, if both guys, if they can lead us to wins, then let's do it.
Absolutely. I think that's like I said, man, that's the biggest thing. Like if whoever, it could be either one of these guys. If they lead us to wins, if they got us to like a Big 12 championship in like year one or year two, they would probably be chewed in as number three already.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's gonna be hard to pass two guys that have played in the NFL. I'm not sure how realistic that is, but you never know. But it'll be fun to kind of revisit this later in the season to see where they're at. Let's talk about another list in climbing, and that's Jaheim the Dream, right? Someone that we've talked about a ton on the show. So if you look here on the stats, he's ranked 27th all time in rushing. You said you think he gets over 1,000 yards this year?
Yeah, I do. I think 1,200 is pretty realistic, actually. He's gonna be that guy, and I mean, he can explode in certain games as we've seen, right? I mean, before it was kind of just like him and CJ kind of figuring out as like a 1-2 punch, and now I mean, he is going to be the guy, and there's a lot of hype around him, and I think he's gonna live up to it for sure.
So if he gets 1,000 yards, he would pass 20 people, and he would move into seventh all time this year. So if he gets 1,000, he would just pass Quincy Wilson, and I think if he gets 1,200, he would pass Letty. So he could even if he got to that 1,200, I think that's the benchmark for him is 1,200 yards for him. How many? So he had 7 touchdowns last year. He had 4 the year before, but he's caught some in the backfield. How many touchdowns do you think for Jaheim this year?
Man, I think he's going to get 10 plus for sure. I mean, I think even like 15 could be reasonable for him. I mean, he's going to get the ball a lot, right? And I mean, he's going to be the guy, and I think those numbers are very realistic for him this year.
Yeah, Rich Rod last year, he ran his running back like crazy.
Yeah.
Trey Stewart, who was actually, I believe, a Division II guy that leveled up and had an amazing season. It's going to be interesting now how many touchdowns he gets because now if Ty Edwards is indeed eligible, he's like that goal line back. So I'm interested to see like how they split the rock, especially down by the goal line. But I think he's going to get the majority of the workload. It's kind of disappointing Jalen Knighton was ineligible because I think he had some good football ahead of him, but you move on. Let's talk about the number 2 and 3 running back, Amit. I have Ty Edwards penciled in at 2 now that he's eligible. Do you have that same feeling, or do you have someone else?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's no question now, right? Especially as you mentioned with Knighton being ineligible. So yeah, I think Ty will be the second guy, and I think that him and Jaheim, it's going to be exciting to see both of them kind of in action.
Yeah, I have Sincere Bowers as number 3.
Yeah.
The only other guy that might I can't say only other guy because there's Katzer and there's other guys, but Hubbard too is someone you have to pay attention to because it seems like he's had a good spring and a good camp and he's been reliable. So if I had to bet though, I would probably say White, Edwards, and Bowers are your top 3. Sincere Bowers is a JUCO guy that ran like a 4.340 in the offseason because Jaheim White leaked out the 40 times. But if when all's said and done, if Jaheim is here for another season or two, he could be well up on this list. He's definitely not finishing 27th. I can tell you that. So hopefully he has a good season in Morgantown. And then if he wants to go to the NFL, that's his decision. Or if he wants to come back, just don't hit the portal, right? That way you can always stay a Mountaineer.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the receiver room. One of the more fascinating positions on the team, in my opinion. We talked about a bunch of these guys. I want to predict the top 5. So, I want to see what your top 5 is first. I'll give you my top 5 of who's going to catch the most passes this season. We'll see how close it is, and then at the end of the season, we'll kind of see where it landed. What's your top 5 you got?
Yeah, so I have Cam Vaughn, Ronnie Gallagher, Jaden Bray, Singleton, and Preston Fox.
Gotcha. Which do I have all those guys on the? I think I have all those guys on the thing. That's good. Mine's a little bit different. I have Cam Vaughn, number 1, caught 49 balls last year. I think he had over 700 yards receiving last year, which is impressive as a freshman. So I have Cam Vaughn at number 1. Number 2, I have Jaden Bray. Just they keep hyping him up, and that's 2 coaching staffs now that have hyped him up. So I'm gonna put Bray at number 2. Number 3, I'm actually gonna go as a tight end. Grayson Barnes, Northern Illinois transfer, caught 31 balls last year, which is impressive for a tight end. Really impressive kid. So I'm going to go Grayson Barnes 3, Rodney Gallagher 4, and then I'm going to go with Oren Singleton at number 5. Oren Singleton last year had 64 catches caught at Eastern Michigan. So numbers don't lie. Him and Rodney might be splitting that slot position, and Bowie, who we mentioned, but those are my top 5. There's other guys in there too. Christian Hamilton, Justin Smith-Brown, Jeffrey Weimer is eligible now. They have Logan Ramper from Slippery Rock. I mean, there's a ton of different options here. Cyrus Trough from Youngstown State. You get the point. It's hard to predict, but based on what I've been hearing at camp and the press conferences and what's been reported, that's my 5. We're pretty close, though, I would think.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the defensive side of the ball. So me and Mitt were doing like a pre-meeting production up into the week, and we said who gets the most sacks because we were assuming Jamori wasn't going to be eligible. Now that Jamori is eligible, I think we know who's going to get the most sacks. So the question changed to who's the leader to how many sacks do you think Jamori is going to get? Last year at UTSA, he had 10.5, which was good for the American Athletic Conference Player of the Year. He had 4.5 this season before. Now, the kicker is last year he had 10.5 sacks, but 4 of them came in one game versus Temple. So admit, I'm going to give you the first crack at it. How many sacks do you think Robinson gets in his season with the Mountaineers?
I'm going to go with 8 because I think it's a new level of competition, right? He's going to see some bigger linemen. He's going to see some different level of talent. But I think I'm going to go with 8 this year.
It's funny because I have my notes and I have 8 circled as well. So for the same exact reasons that you have, number 1, I'm not sure how much he's going to play the first 2 games because he didn't go through camp. So I'm not sure what that's going to look like. I'm sure he's going to play a little bit if he is eligible. But like you said, different level of competition. I'm sure he's going to see double teams this year because he's one of the more hyped guys. I think 8 is a respectable number. It'd be great to see him get to double digits because that's Bruce Irvin and Julian Miller territory. And I think he could be that type of player if he hits his ceiling. But I think 8 is a healthy number for Jamori Robinson. I would take that right now. Leading tackler. There's a lot of different ways that we can go here. You can either go with a linebacker or someone that plays a nickel or a bandit position. Amit, who you got?
I'm going to go with Chase Wilson. I think, he's going to fit Rich Rod definitely. And this, defensive unit for sure. So I think, he's going to work with the coaching staff pretty well. And I think, he's going to be the leading tackler for us.
Yeah, he was my second pick. He had 98 tackles last year total for Colorado State. I think he had 100-something the year before. Yeah. I'm going to go with Fred Perry. Fred Perry had 109 last season at Jack State. He plays that nickel position, which is kind of like a hybrid defensive back / linebacker. So you could see him come up to the line of scrimmage and make sacks and also play pass coverage. So I think you're going to see him all over the field. It should be fun what Zach Alley does with them. But I'm going to go Fred Perry with 109 from last year. All right, the next question, the turnover leader. Who causes the most turnovers on this team?
I'm actually going to vote Fred Perry. that was my pick for turnover leader.
Yeah, my biggest thing with Fred Perry is, watching his highlight tape, there are times like, man, I really hope that's not targeting. So I really hope he can stay in the game because some of those are pretty close to call. I'm going to go with Michael Coach Jr. He had 4 interceptions last year at Nevada. I'm not sure if the Big 12 quarterbacks are going to test him, but I'm sure they will. They're going to want to get the ball to the number one receiver. And there's a lot of great quarterbacks in this league. So I think they are going to test him. And he is taking a step up a level. But I really like Michael Coach Jr., someone I've been hyping up all offseason. So I like him to have a similar number. Give me Coach Jr. for the interception leader on the team. Before we leave, let's do our predictions. I didn't forgot to make a graphic for this one, but that's okay. So Amit, we're gonna go through each conference, and you just give me who you think is gonna win. Since we're already talking about it, let's start Big 12. Who's your champ in the Big 12 when all said and done?
Yeah. Such a tough league to predict, absolutely each year. But this year, I think Utah is going to figure it out. You have some new OC and a new quarterback, of course, but I think this is the year they're actually going to live up to the expectation.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Texas Tech. Just based on talent alone. I know some people are skeptical if it can work, but just based on what they're bringing back, they whipped us last year. Um, they're a very, very good football team. I hope I'm wrong, obviously, because they're on the schedule. I'm going to go with Texas Tech, but it wouldn't surprise me. The winner of tomorrow's game should be in that conversation too. So Iowa State versus Kansas State, two really talented programs. You can't count them out. Baylor's growing, Arizona State. I mean, it's a wide open league, but if I had to guess, I'd say Texas Tech. All right, let's go over to the ACC. So the ACC, who you got, Mitt?
I think it's a two-team race, and I'm going to go with Clemson. I think it's between Clemson and Miami, and I think that will be, the ACC championship. But I like Clemson to win this league.
It's so funny. They say great minds think alike, and that was my exact point as well. I think it's a two-team race too. You have Carson Beck coming back at Miami. He did not play well though in big games last year. I'm actually going to do a national story on Sunday about all the national storylines, and he's one of them. And we're going to talk more about him. But I think it's Clemson's year. You look at their defensive line and Cade Klubnik. I think Clemson's back. They have a really tough non-conference schedule with LSU and South Carolina, but they're not ACC schools, so they could lose those games and still win the conference. Give me Clemson to win the ACC. All right, let's talk about the Big Ten. Big Ten wide open league. I wouldn't say it's wide open. There's probably 3 or 4 realistic teams that can win. Who you got?
I'm saying if Penn State can't do it this year, I don't know if they're going to be able to do it. I mean, that team is loaded. You have Drew Aller, and then you have capable running backs, right? So I mean, if Penn State can't do it this year, I don't know, but I'm still going to go with Ohio State to get it done this year.
Yeah, so again, Sunday's show, one of the headlines is, if not now, when? And we talk about Penn State on that show. I have Penn State winning because, like you said, this is the year. They have Jim Knowles at defensive coordinator. They brought in a ton of talent at receiver in the portal. They bring back 4 starters on the offensive line, Drew Aller, the two running backs in Singleton. They're stacked this year, and if they don't win this year, I think James Franklin's going to start feeling the heat because he's hit a ceiling at that point. So they have to get it done this year, and not only get it done, but they need to win the national championship this year, in my opinion. Yeah, that's the expectation of Penn State this year for them. And then the SEC. Let's talk about the SEC real quick. Who you like in the SEC?
Man, people are saying it's like a 3-team race between Texas, Georgia, and Bama. I don't think people should sleep on LSU. I mean, they have one of the best quarterbacks in the country, but I'm going to go with Georgia. I just think they are the most sound. And I mean, there's question marks with Texas. I mean, I think Arch is going to be really good, but I mean, Georgia, I think, as a complete unit, both offensively and defensively, they're always there. And I think they're going to figure it out this year and get back to the top.
Yeah, I got Texas. I think they were top 3 scoring defense last year. They have Arch Manning, who I never bet against the Manning, especially being a Giants fan. And I just think that the stars are aligning. They play Ohio State week 1, which is going to be an amazing game. It's crazy. It's a noon game. A chance to see CJ Donaldson versus those guys, which is going to be fun. So I guess you have my SEC champ versus your Big Ten champ week 1, which should be fun.
Yeah.
National champ.
Man, so I think the SEC kind of just figures it out this year. I'm going to go with Georgia. I think they're going to be the most complete team, top to bottom, and I think they get back to the top. So I'm going to go with Georgia.
I said I think this is the year for Penn State. Maybe I'm biased because I scouted them so much last year going into the game, but this offseason, just seeing all the guys that came back, they were so close last year. They're just, I don't know. I think Penn State finds a way to get it done this year. Any Heisman, any guy that you want for the Heisman? I know I didn't ask you that beforehand, putting you on the spot here. Anyone for the Heisman, you think?
Oh, man, I like the LSU quarterback. I think
Nesmeyer.
Nesmeyer. Yeah, I think he's good, man. I was watching the SEC documentary and on Netflix. That series is great. But I mean, he's going to be hyped this year for sure. And I think he's very capable of winning the Heisman.
Yeah, I like Arch Manning. I feel like he's gonna get like almost like a head start now that he's the full-time starter. I mean, if he beats Ohio State week 1, he's gonna have like the lead starting off, and that's only gonna keep building for him. So I think Arch Manning has a really good shot to win the position based on his name, based on how well the team's gonna do this year. So I'm gonna go with Arch Manning. With that being said, we went for 35 minutes, which is a great time. It went really fast. I mean, it was really fun. If you're a Mountaineer fan, please like and subscribe to the show. I plan to have Amit on again. I'd like to get more special guests on the show, do some live reactions after these games, have Amit on again, preview some games. It's been a lot of fun. We've been growing like crazy, so definitely like and subscribe to the show. Amit, any parting words before we head out of here?
Man, I'm ready to go, man. Bring on Robert Morris, and I'm super pumped, man. We're here, so let's go.
Let's go, Mountaineers. It should be a fun football season. We appreciate you, everyone watching. We'll talk to you guys next time.